Conditioning is extremely important. I think everyone knows that conditioning is important, but I don't think everyone really knows how important it is. I know for a fact that I never knew how important conditioning is, or just a general baseline of good conditioning is, until I started training athletes. Even though with my athletes, I have a non negotiable that I will train speed, I started seeing that when I look at my athletes and they play their sport, a lot of them struggle to stick to their sport when they lack good conditioning. And obviously, there's a new trend of bashing old school conditioning and bashing old school swimming conditioning. And I think some of it is really valid because I think it lacks a lot of playing and it takes a lot of natural stuff out of athletes that athletes need to get better. But one thing that you cannot say that it missed is that it created a good baseline of conditioning. Having that type of engine to be able to play your sport is non-negotiable. And if you want to be able to play your sport good, you need it. I don't think there is a sport that includes running that won't ask a good aerobic base from you. If an athlete walks up a flight of stairs and he's gassed, obviously doesn't matter if you get that athlete fast in a 40-meter sprint. If they are gassed after they walk up a flight of stairs, even if they get faster on a sprint, they won't have the gas, for example, in rugby, to play an 80-minute game. It's impossible. And they won't be able to play at their fullest capacity. This is not the same for all athletes, and that is why it's super important to look at the actual athlete that stands in front of you. A lot of my athletes are kids who play a lot in parks, which means that they do have this general play aspect. So they're always playing, they're always running, they drive their bike to school and to practice. So they do have that general level of conditioning. For those athletes, you can kind of guess, okay, well, it's not the most important thing to have this kid run up and down. But then again, you might have athletes who can't run or jog even 1 kilometer without stopping. And that is not a good enough base to be able to play a game where most athletes cover about 5 kilometers at high speeds as well. So to develop this is really simple. I usually give my athletes two really big tips. And I think one is actually a very important one. I think a lot of this generation, I'm not even that old, but I think this generation, the newer generation, even younger than me, needs more of it because not a lot of them do it. But basically, the first one, very basic, just go running. Time yourself. It's very easy. Go to your house, run around the block, run twice around the block, run 3 times around the block, time yourself, and do it again in a month or two, or do it every week and see if you can beat your own time. Really easy, really simple. Takes about 5 to 10 minutes. That's a really easy one to prescribe. I think the best tip that I can give athletes, or that I give my athletes as well, is to go and play your sport outside of the formal practices. And what does that mean? For me, playing rugby, I would say go play touch rugby in a park with your friends for 1 hour to 2 hours. That is the best type of conditioning that you can do. You're constantly busy, you're playing with a ball, you're playing with a sport, and you're playing with friends. And it's also going to replicate the type of go and stop of the actual sports. So go out to a park, play different sports even. Go play tennis, go play football if you're not a football player. If you're a football player, go play touch rugby. If you're anything like that, try and get outside and try and play a sport. That is probably the best bang for your buck to create an engine. It doesn't help you're super fast and you're super strong, but you only have 10 minutes in your tank. So basic conditioning is super important. And as a coach or a player, it's really important to one, identify how good is my engine, what is required of me in my sport, and do I need to increase that before I look at other things, or while I look at other things. And that is your job as a coach or your job as a player looking to improve yourself. You have to ask yourself, is my conditioning good enough? I'm just going to add in here because I think it's a very good piece of thing. I'm not big on nuances, but it's a very important thing. I'm big on sprinting and I'm big on running fast. So I just want to add that if you're someone that is listening to this video and you're someone that already jogs a lot and does a lot of 3Ks, get your ass to the field and do some sprints. You do not need more conditioning. If you have any comments or anything like that about a certain question that you have or a video topic that you want me to talk about, please just put in the comments.